You are the director and you are the actor. Failure only occurs when you write it into your script, when you choose it for an ending. And it is one ending, one of many. It is one approach of many. Once you've started that march towards what's important to you, do not let failure be the choice that you make. Choose growth. Choose the adventure. Choose the long way home. Victory over defeat, the uphill climb over regret. Choose to move forward when most wouldn't. It's the decision you'll always be thankful you made. I once heard a metaphor that our existence is like standing behind a curtain with tears or holes, and reality becomes which holes we decide to look through when we're peering out at the world on the other side. What do we want to see? And this message, well, it's for whoever out there feels like giving up or folding their hand. Whoever's been waiting for things to change but only sees the clock moving forward, this is a reminder that the very thing you need is on the other side of that curtain. And you don't need to change who you are. You just need to position yourself to see it. Because it's there and you're ready. When life hurts, we might have every reason to be in pain, to feel lost or confused, but I always find it to be a beautiful reminder that we also have every reason to seek out from that pain something we've never been before. Why is it that our greatest accomplishments come when our backs are to the wall? Our greatest acquisitions after losing something dear to us? Why is it that we find ourselves and our way only after being lost? I've never heard someone say, "Thank God I never changed or left or tried something new." No, it's thank God the adversity forced upon me the courage to evolve into something more. Pain is to our potential what water is to a seed. It's the beginning of everything, unshackling, opening the gate, and making us realize we were sitting on the answers. That adversity doesn't stop you, it makes you stronger. That the down times lift you up. That when you lose yourself, you find a part of you that can now become the bridge to your future. See, I understand that things are difficult and challenging. I understand they're not easy, and I'm not asking you to pretend it's not happening or ignore it or close your eyes. I'm asking you to find, amidst all of this, that one thing that will get you to tomorrow. I'm asking you to find the courage to say, yes, this hurts. Yes, I'm stretched thinner than I've ever been, but I'm still going to find a way. I'm still going to make it happen. Because at the end of the day, you won't remember what hurt or what stood in your way, but you'll remember what you did about it. You'll remember how you arranged those pieces. How when your instincts said run, you stopped and built something you'll never forget. I often ask myself, what differentiates those who wish for better outcomes and those who do something about it? What separates the dreaming from the progress and the wishing from the reality? Sure, life is complex. There are a lot of moving parts to understand. But I think this element is simple. Those who build things in life are willing to not only see a reality that hasn't yet materialized. But they also understand that in a world of no, they have to be the yes. They have to believe in their ability to drive towards finish lines that no one else sees. And see, meaning cannot come to fruition without that discomfort. Or as Nietzsche put it, one must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star, and that's just it. Most people see what is, most people conform, they do not create. To change something means you have to be the metaphorical eagle amongst pigeons, flying above all that, everyone, everything else. Superseding the limiting beliefs that shackle others to their one-dimensional realities. But most importantly, it means you can see. You can see what no one else can. You have line of sight to what no one else understands. See, in this world, no one walks up to you on the street, puts their arm around you and says, "Hey kid, that dream, follow that, because I can tell you're going to do big things." No one says, "Hey, that business idea, you're going to thrive next year, I know it. That relationship, it's going to happen. That level of fitness, oh, I can see it already." Nope. People see what's right in front of them. And as it pertains to you and your world, your life, people are those pigeons. And so that leaves you with a choice. Do you accept that? Do you blend in, take the scraps you're allowed to consume, the crumbs laid out in front of you? Or do you step back and acknowledge that this is going to be tough, this is going to hurt, it's going to push me further as a person than I've ever been pushed? But you know what I get in return? That view. I get to live above the clouds with those who don't wait in line. No, they become the main attraction. They transform what is into what will be, because the world, it has a way of ensuring that we really want what we say we do. Greatness in any area of life is reserved for those willing to carry forward when most would turn back. To build a bridge to something greater when most people point out that your bridge is not connected to anything, that it's a waste of time, it's trivial, useless, irrational. Good. Changing your life in the world around you has to be irrational. Taking the status quo and shaking it, saying, "I'm going to alter this landscape," is irrational. But from irrationality comes the future. So when you feel like the world is against you, when you have an uphill battle to climb, when there are a million reasons for you to turn around, understand that this is nothing more than an indicator that you are right where you need to be. Against the current, bringing something new to life. See, if it were easy, it would already exist. But changing your life, that makes you an architect of the unseen. So build. On the days you want to, build. On the days you don't, build. When they understand, build. And when they assume you've altogether lost your mind, build. Sure, it's not easy, but it's worth it. And when tomorrow comes, and it looks a lot different from today, when you've grown, evolved, transformed, and you look back and don't even recognize the person you once were, that won't be because you listened to the chirping of the doubters and the naysayers. It won't be because when strangers told you to give up, you packed your bags and went home. No, it will be because you rose above all that. They saw empty space and you saw a world undiscovered. They saw your head in the clouds while you built those castles in the air. You were always on a trajectory to something greater. You didn't need to convince them. You needed to convince yourself. To unlock the shackles and take to the sky, leave everything that once held you down behind. This isn't about anyone else. It's about the conversation between you and the horizon that awaits. There have been times in my life when I've been down. I've been out, I've been afraid. I've looked up at the road ahead and been completely unsure. And I can say firsthand, when you're going through a situation like this, that it essentially consumes you, right? It's all you see, it's all you think about, to the point where the good stuff, the opportunity all around you, it becomes transparent. You see right through it. It's the negative, it's misfortune for a period of time that becomes your narrative, becomes the story. What if this is forever? What if I'm not as good as I want to be or as they are? What if things don't work out? Never mind the fact that you've been here before and you've battled back. Never mind how far you've come. No, that takes a back seat to the discomfort that we feel right now, and that's the irrationality of the human mind. We forget. We forget that the lows create the highs. That temporary isn't forever, that you can't stand with any type of authority if you've never before fallen. Accomplishing anything is never just walking up and reaching a goal. It's about getting back up over and over again. Taking the bad breaks in stride and seeing the losses for what they are, necessary. What if I told you that the difficult times weren't just manageable, they were what you needed? Those moments when you felt helpless were a bridge to something better. A demonstration of just how capable you are and how strong you can be. Feeling lost, feeling defeated, sure, it's unsettling. But it's also a reminder that you are exactly where you need to be. In one form or another, your struggle becomes your answer. Life isn't always calm seas and sunny skies, but if you let it, it will teach you to weather any storm to come out on top. Never lose sight of the opportunity, it's there. Hiding behind the struggle, immersed in the ups and downs, and when you know that you will not let yourself stay down, that you'll get up. Struggle becomes a building block, not a weight around the ankles. With each stumble, you become taller. With each misstep, you step forward. The problem will never be tough times. It will be refusing to find that next level for fear of their materialization. Regret is a choice. And for those who refuse to stay down, it will be a choice that they'll never know.
Love that video. For those who stay down. So we've got an exciting webinar tonight, and not only myself, but 4 others. You know, we're not the type of people who stay down, and we want to share with you our life experiences, both the good and the bad and everything in between. So I want to share my screen with you, and let's go here. And it's simple. What are we doing today? Well, it's all about real people and real stories, and pretty exciting to discover. So I've been doing this a very long time. And what I found over the years is that people often sort of see me on stage and you know, I invite other speakers, whatever, and they go, oh, well, you were lucky, you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth or whatever. And I'll never forget many, many years ago, I was sitting with our marketing team, and our marketing team actually turned to me, and they were well paid, you know, they were on maybe like $4,000 a month salary. And I remember the one lady turning and goes, yeah, but that's fine for you and this other gentleman that was head of our investment committee. You know, you guys have lots of money, but what about for us? And I realized, you know, one of the biggest challenges is that people always perceive that they're not like other people and therefore they can't do it. And so we started a series back in, I don't know, I honestly can't even remember now, 2016 or so, called Real People, Real Stories. And there's plenty of interviews out on the internet where we went in and we actually just literally asked real people, real stories. And so I'm truly grateful tonight to have a number of guests where we're going to be going through real people, real stories, the good, the bad, what works, what doesn't work, because it's never a straight line to success. I just want to, you know, show you quickly. So we've got people in South Africa, we've got people in Europe, we've got people in England in terms of the overall process. I do always ask you this question: what would it mean to you in 12 months or less to be earning $5,000 in passive income? Shane and Alex, please can you get hold of Abdul as well, please? He's trying to contact me. Be earning at least $5,000. You're gonna love it when my panelists are coming on as I'm speaking. Anyway, it's all good. I've been on ridden this horse before. So yeah, 12 months or less to be earning 5K passive income without any hassle or complexity. And secondly, how would you like a system which will statistically help you get there 5 times faster, simpler, and safer? I remind you of Jordan, a high net worth 55-year-old who worked very hard in his life, wants to build a portfolio to ensure his wealth is preserved, wants to be globally diversified with an income of at least $5,000, $10,000, or even $25,000, wants to diversify his investments across countries, currencies, and assets, uses limited time to get effective results with predictability, save decades of frustration and millions of dollars to get the right knowledge for him and his family, wealth protection, a plan B, and peace of mind, be held accountable with an accountability partner to get results, have a family office to help him manage all his financial affairs, create generational wealth for his family, have a fully completed, executed wealth plan and investor strategy sheet, and get results. Or Victoria, an entrepreneur in her 50s, devoted to her family and business, aiming to build generational wealth. She's got a packed schedule, but she wants a streamlined investment strategy which empowers her to make wise decisions, aligns with her goals, and frees up time for her grandchildren and daughters. She understands the investment landscape and she feels very empowered to make the right decisions for herself and her family. And her focus is on financial freedom and cherishing more moments with her loved ones. You know, if you resonate with people like Jordan and Victoria, then I welcome you to stay on. It's all about living life unlimited and doing it through Diversification 5.0. And although tonight is all going to be a Q&A, if you do want to go into this a lot deeper, our next challenge, which is where we go really in depth around diversification, starts at the end of July. And then next week is our next webinar in the series, and it's legacy and family relationships with money. In working towards an understanding and an appreciation for our relationships with money, we need to first understand the messages we received around money in our formative years, how we chose, unconsciously or consciously, to internalize those either emotionally, intuitively, or intellectually. Family legacy plays a crucial role here. The inheritance of worldviews from our parents and caregivers significantly shapes our early perspectives on money. The early worldhood view will determine how adults, as we approach money and wealth through one of these 3 centers of expression, as a means to gain independence or autonomy, as a way to feel connected and build secure relationships, or as a way to ensure safety and security against a complex and demanding world. Join us as we go one layer deeper into the Enneagram and explore the 3 centers of expression. And if you're never sure what to do, I'm sure Shane will chuck it in the chat box as well, but you can go to our navigator, which will help you with your next steps. I always say to people, you need the right information and the right partners. And you know, every month we sit down with, as part of the mastermind, I sit down along with many of the people who are online tonight. And Anthony from Callio Capital comes and teaches us and shares with us what is happening in the global markets. This is all what happened literally in the last month. What do we need to know? what is, this month it was about AI investment and jobs and everything else, but it changes every month. And then secondly, what about the right partners? And if you missed last week's webinar, we had a very powerful session with partners, Judd Dunning, Industrial Property in America, Garth Wellman, the CEO of Calio, the family office, Anthony, that runs call centers out of both Asia, Europe, and America, and Peter Katz, that does European income-producing assets, commercial real estate out of Germany. And if you are interested, everything we're going to talk about tonight, there are live opportunities on the platform. So whether you're interested in investing in income-producing industrial buildings in Phoenix, and by the way, we've got the launch of that tomorrow night with Judd Dunning, if you're interested, or income-producing in Germany. However, it's without further ado that I want to stop sharing, and I want to invite the panel and start to have a conversation. So I can see that Cynthia has joined us, Ian has joined us, and Derek has joined us. Abdul, I hope, is on his way in terms of the process. So one of the things that I'm very impressed with, firstly, Derek has really dressed up for the occasion. So, I'm feeling bad now that I don't have a tie on. But as Derek said, he's actually come directly from a conference. So, yeah, firstly, I just wanted to welcome all of you. Let us know kind of who you are and where you're from, or where you are at the moment. And as I said, we kind of got to just go into a free flow Q&A, and I'm going to kind of weave in and try and share as much information as possible with everyone. Let's go with ladies first, and you're in the top left corner, and then I'll go Derek, and then we can go Ian.
I love it. Where have I come from? Today I've come from 3 mechanics, a car with no brakes, a borrowed Fiat Panda, a race to the city to pick up an ID card, a fight with my insurance guy, 3 banks, and that was my day off. That's where I come from.
Well, I hope that we can make this as low stress as possible for you. Then
this is like the highlight of my day. You have the sun setting in Tuscany behind me, which is glaring in on the computer. So trying to pull some curtains, but yeah, coming to you live from the Tuscan-Umbria border, halfway between Rome and Florence.
So that's where I was going to go if Cynthia didn't say that. So basically from Italy in Europe, if you're not very good with maths, or not maths, geography, to be fair. From your perspective, where are you coming at so well dressed? You muted there, mate.
Muted.
We got you muted, Derek.
Sorry, we're just sorting out some technical connection issues here. Hopefully the connection lasts now. So Scott, I'm in Pretoria at the moment in the city. We've just finished a board meeting, and that's why I'm not in my farmer rags. So not to impress anybody, I promise you. These are real people, real conversations. Looking forward to sharing my experience. I think. I was sitting listening to your introduction and remembering the first time I sat listening to you and what my expectations were, and kind of get a sense of how much a chat like this could actually assist and contribute. So looking forward to the evening.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Derek. I'm glad you gave caveat to it, because you, as part of our mastermind, you genuinely give us the most entertainment. You're in a car or a tractor or something. So tonight you're in a sophisticated boardroom. So it's quite impressive. Yeah. Abdul, welcome. Wonderful to have you. I'll pivot before I introduce you just quickly to Ian. Ian, I'm not sure if you're in Poland or England, so you'll have to tell us where you are.
Yeah, I'm in Poland, Scott. And so I spend my time between Scotland and Poland.
Okay.
Month on, month off.
Okay. So Ian is a Zimbabwean that moved to South Africa. They then moved to England and clearly can't make up his mind between England and Poland. So I never have a clue where he actually is, basically.
Yeah, and we met in 2007.
Yeah, no, it's been a
very
long journey, and I knew your wife very well as well. So it's an honor and privilege to have you here. I mean, what is that? Thanks. 2007. That's 18 years. Is that right?
Yeah, it's about
17 years.
You were doing a presentation, I think, for Kurt Coetzee and Neil Peterson as well at that time.
Okay, I was talking to Neil today, actually. Small world. Okay, brilliant, man. Well, thank you. Lovely to have you here from Poland. And Abdul, I assume you're in Cape Town. Wonderful to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Scott. Yeah, I'm sitting in rainy Cape Town, but can't complain because we do need the water.
Yusuf, I mean, I'm the same as you. It's been raining so hard here and super cold. And today, I think today it was going to snow in Cape Town, didn't it?
Yeah, the outside of Cape Town, north of Cape Town.
Okay.
It is snowing. Yeah, my in-laws are from a place called Carnarvon, where they're having snow yesterday for the whole day.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I was telling my son that because he'll be excited. He's wanted to go and find the snow outside Cape Town. So, and Neil, you're glad that you're not in Durban because I don't know if you saw the tornado that hit Durban yesterday.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've got property in Cape Town, so yeah, I've been watching the weather there.
Well, listen, we're not going to get into a political debate, but if you got property in Durban with tornadoes and MK in charge, then you've got a lot to think about. So let's rock and roll. If you don't mind, so what I did just so that everyone that's joined us, if you've got questions and whatever, just chuck them in the chat box. Let us know where you're from. I'm going to kind of curate them, and the way that I'm going to do it is kind of in a free-flowing way. I like the way Derek said it. You know, one of the things that people I've found, certainly from my own experience, is that people are always sitting there and they're, you know, da 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 da. So, you know, let's ask questions. There's nothing that's been kind of pre-planned. It's not like we had a meeting about this meeting. And kind of my request to everyone is we're kind of going to go with the flow. What I do have, though, is a couple of questions to guide the process. And so, Cindy, if you don't mind, I'd love to start with you. And one of the things that I find, you know, very, very interesting about yourself is that often one of the waves that I'm seeing that's happening more and more now is empowered women wanting to kind of take control of their lives. You know, they might have been married or they are married and they're still going, okay, well, my husband used to look after it, or I don't have a husband anymore, and I kind of want to be empowered in my life. And I'd like to just ask you that journey as kind of mentally how you went through that, because I think it's actually really material, whether ladies are married or not married, because I'm seeing it happening over and over and over again.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of it too. There's a lot of these female invest and women investment groups now, and yeah, a lot of that. I'm trying to think where it started. I mean, in my 20s, I grew up with a really great saving mentality. So I always saved my first job, and then I got out of college and I saved and I saved and I saved because I wanted to go backpacking around the world. And it was always, money was always this like, what's the goal? Save for it and then go spend all your money and then go back to work and save for the next trip or save for the, so I was always a great saver. It took me till very late in life to realize that saving wasn't investing, that it was, you know, that, you know, when Ann Wilson and other people say, like, you know, no one ever got rich off of a salary. That was a big, you know, the first time anyone said that, I was like, they don't, you know, like it never occurred to me that to make your money work for you. So whenever I'm in all these digital nomad groups and all these choose FIRE and financial independence retired early, like I'm literally in 50 of these groups. And when they say, if you could tell your 20-year-old self anything, you give your 20-year-old self advice, what would it be? I always write, saving isn't investing. It's like a total different turn to get your money to work for you instead of constantly saving for that next thing you wanted to buy or the mortgage or the whatever. So that was my journey even before my divorce, which was in my late 40s. And then I realized, then I was sitting there with 3 kids going, okay, well, my salary is definitely not going to cut it. So now the money's really got to work for me. So it went from a, you know, back of the head, I'm aware of this, but I'm too busy raising kids and being a wife and being an olive farmer. I'd come from corporate Asia, moved to Italy, became an olive farmer. So did this complete life pivot. And I still wasn't thinking about money. And then when the divorce happened, it was like, okay, well, now I have an income, but it's not going to cover the 3 kids. And how do I get the money to work for me? So it was a really long time coming, that sort of wake up to start investing.
We will pivot, you know, and I'll come back to it. I think it's probably the next question for you. and I'll move on and I'll come back to the same question, but I'd love to know where, you know, so you had the mindset to investing, and then you kind of gone from, okay, I need to invest to, and we'll go into your further story because of how you've taken that further. What I'd like to do in terms of yourself, Ian, you know, you are, you know, the epitome, very like Cynthia. In fact, most people on this call are in this bracket of what I refer to as a global citizen, where, you know, you're from one country, you live in other countries, you've got assets in different countries. And, you know, talk about that journey, Ian. And also, you know, it's a different type of journey. You and I both come from Zim. So we were kind of, you know, they always say people move 4 times more away from pain than they do towards pleasure. You know, my father made me very, very clear when I was young that I wasn't having all my assets in Africa. But talk us through your journey and kind of what is this global mindset and wanting to, you know, be a citizen of the globe, but also invest, you know, internationally.
Yeah, Scott, my life started off, did my mechanical engineering, decided I want to be a pilot, went on to be a pilot. Then I went into the farming industry. You know, then lost my farm to the war veterans in Zim, being forced to leave within 48 hours. And realizing that you don't have control over your life when people control you. So moving back into the city and started my own construction company. At the same time, I had various other businesses I was running. From toilet paper manufacturing, I had several factories. And I went into property developing and then built my own development. And I realized then with hyperinflation, you know, Zim was running away with it. You couldn't keep up with imports because my business is reliant on raw material. And we were having, you know, construction. On our construction side, I was selling properties with escalation clauses built in because it was impossible to sell a property for Zim dollars. And we were forced to do that through the government. You weren't able to sell property in foreign currency. And my late wife was also, she was a real estate agent. So she was trying to sell properties through the back door to foreign currency buyers. But if she got caught doing that, she would have been arrested. So, and the same went for me. I couldn't sell the properties I was building for Forex. So I had escalation clauses where every day it was moving like 1,000%. And then you're having to go back to the potential buyer who was buying off plan to tell him that he owes you a few more trillion Zim dollars. And it was every day. And then, you know, I decided that was it. I'd had enough. I sold my main house, managed to sell my 2 factories. And I've still got 7 houses in Zim right now because, you know, to sell, you have to find somebody who's willing to buy it in foreign currency. And you can't sell in foreign currency because, you know, they've got restrictions against you externalizing funds. So I moved to South Africa, started again. And, you know, I thought South Africa, because I was born in South Africa, it was an easy road for me. Sent my 2 sons, or our 2 sons, to the UK to be educated because the education was falling apart as well in Zim. Universities were non-existent. So they basically forced us to split our family up. And so we moved to South Africa, kids went to university and started again. And that's when I met Scott. But when I arrived in South Africa, I thought the best thing I'm going to do is I'm going to buy 5 properties. And I just bought a few more and I ended up with 7 properties and started renting them out. Big mistake. I should never have put my money into South Africa. Never. You know, if I'd taken that money and put it in...
We're not giving financial advice on this presentation.
No. But I'm just giving you my personal opinion. Because I could have been sitting quite pretty with the same amount of money I'd put into South Africa if I'd put it into Europe. So the bottom line is, with depreciation, and I'm going to get back to diversification, don't put all your eggs into one basket. You know, and it goes back to Zim. I had over $500,000 US sitting in a what we call an FCA account. And overnight, Robert Mugabe turned around and said, no Zimbabwean is allowed to hold foreign currency. He took that $500,000 and gave me $500,000 Zim dollars, which was at 4-1. So I literally had $125,000, which I quickly withdrew and started buying on the black market. And then your pension. My pension was well over 500,000 in US dollar terms. But again, it was based against the Zim dollar. And today it's probably worth 2,000 Rand because Old Mutual are trying to get me to accept it, but I have to go and open a bank account in Zim. So it goes back to the whole thing of having property offshore, have a world-class, let's have a passport in Europe, let's have an EU passport, buy your way into EU if you can, have a British passport if you can, or invest offshore. Like Cynthia is doing, she's in Italy. And, you know, I'm looking at Poland, investments in Poland, great opportunities here. I've been looking in Germany, great opportunities. Fortunately, WealthE Migrate are already doing that. So I don't have to worry too much about looking into Germany with the partners there. But yeah, look, Scott, I think the bottom line is everybody that's involved with WealthE Migrate, you're on a great footing. You know, I've been with you for how many years? And I've stood by you 100%. And the opportunity is great for all the new investors that are coming on board.
Yeah, and I think just quickly, Abdul, I'll pivot to you. Hasn't all worked either. I mean, you and I are both in that Aussie deal that's not, you know, going according to plan. And you know, I always joke with people, but if I stood on stage and said for 20 years we got it right every single day, we'd either be lying, cheating, or stealing. You know, it's investing in the game of you're going to make mistakes, and you know it's and that's one of the reasons why I like to diversify, because I just don't believe you're going to get it right every time. It's not possible, you know.
You know, it's, again, I've got a number of investments with Orbvest. I've got several investments in hospitals. Again, not all those deals are going well. We've got to, you know, I think COVID was our biggest downfall for a lot of us. You know, and that was the same for my own business in South Africa. You know, once COVID hit us, you know, I wasn't one of the companies that they needed to operate during COVID times. So working from home, having to retrench your staff wasn't an easy time.
Yeah. Abdul,
unfortunately, having offshore investments and being able to survive, yeah, that's definitely the way forward.
So from your perspective, you know, you've got a fascinating story, and I know you've shared it with people before. I'd love you to just give a little bit of context around it of, you know, again, not only your background in terms of the accounting and auditing perspective, but also how you got into property, because it's a fascinating kind of story of, you know, a highly successful businessman that's built up, you know, quite a, I don't like the word empire, but you get my point, different businesses, property, etc., but within the South African context.
Yeah, Scott, we were obviously not endowed to be universal. Okay, we were very parochial. And for obvious reasons, we were born in an era, okay, that was fairly restricted. What it did tell us is that get the hell out of here. But I mean, you know, the opportunity never presented itself, and obviously you then took root in your community. I was amongst the first of Black chartered accountants in Cape Town especially, but I'm almost certain in South Africa as well. And you know, you had to operate as a bookkeeper instead of an auditor because your client base wasn't there. That drove me into saying, okay, look here, you're not going to be able to survive in this profession doing bookkeeping. It then got me to engage in all types of businesses, exploring all types of things. And eventually I got involved in property. And the first thing I engaged in is obviously understand the economics of property. What is property all about? And property amongst all asset classes has two benefits. It can give you an income stream, and it can give you capital growth. And I learned that fairly early. I'm not a builder, but I understood the economics of property. And the first property I built was my own office, which still exists today, still giving me my pension. But I was doing all of these things, having anchored my living on my practice. My practice is now 42 years old. One of my desires was to exit, which is easier said than done. So the better thing to do is you introduce new partners, and then you hover around as the main guy, which is what I'm currently doing. And I must say, it's something that obviously for doing it for 42 years, I've become very passionate about. However, so most of my wealth was generated within the borders of South Africa. Most of my properties, in fact, all my properties, all my investments is limited to the borders of South Africa. And my fear was always the following. I don't know what's happening on the other side of these borders. Neither do I have a partner who can show me the ropes for that. Until I heard, one of your adverts there, Scott, that suggested, that one needs to be generating diversified universal income. Now that tickled with me, and obviously I almost joined you immediately. And that was only a year ago. Okay. And the type of opportunities that you presented, okay, made a lot of sense to me. Now, in our world, and this is true for all of us, if you cannot trust those that you partner with, life becomes very miserable. So obviously, if you can tweak the trust in your partners and you can bank almost, on such partnerships, never mind the other things, but just that partnership, that definitely will take you forward. And that is what I think Wealth University presented in my little journey with you. And obviously it made so much sense that I actually invested in 3 of your projects, 2 of your projects. Well, 3, I see the one that is still hanging there. They took my money.
Close, yeah.
But, and I must say, it was, almost a dream come true, because you've got all your wealth in the country. I listened to Ian, when he said what his experiences were in Zimbabwe. We could very well have similar experiences in South Africa. So if you're not invested globally, you may very well run the risk of suffering similar type of consequences. So for that, I was very grateful. In terms of the concept of, passive income, I think that lesson came very early, through the property investment component. Most of my wealth, if not all of it, came from property transactions. I was very fortunate, to have had good partners. One of the first client in my practice, way back in 1982, was a gentleman by the name of Cobus Smith. And Cobus was a chemical engineer who hated this stuff and did an MBA and went into construction. And he came to my firm saying the only brains he trusts is, and I'm going to be racist here, but he says, there's 2 types of brains and he trusts, and I am one of those types of brains. And therefore he is wanting to entrust all his work to my office. Up till today, he's my client. He now lives in Malta. And he went into that journey of immigrating from South Africa. And he ended up with a a good capital base, not just in Malta, but in Europe, in Switzerland, London, all over the show. But he could do it on his own. And that was effectively why I could do that, is he had friends across the globe. I did not have that. So until Scott came along, I said, okay, Scott, you'll become my friend. and we engaged. And thank you very much for that.
That's a burden to walk. Now if I mess it up, I lose your friendship as well. So it's all good, Abdul. I appreciate it. Derek, from your perspective, I'll never forget the first conversation we had, and it was somewhere along the lines of, I'm a farmer, and at the end of the day, my risk is in many times is out of my control. It's up to the weather and what's happening with the weather. So I know you were struggling a little bit with the connection, and Ian was giving us the whole story of sort of Zimbabwe and etc. But I mean, you've dealt with a different level of risk or a different type of risk, and one of the reasons for your investment journey was to kind of be able to earn incomes outside of the weather. I can't remember exactly how you put it, but it was pretty much, I need to diversify away from the weather. So tell us a little bit about that journey from a farming mindset in terms of, to move, not move away, but to take what you're doing and do, the investment side as well.
So Scott, if I can start, it was fascinating listening to Cynthia just now saying that her epiphany was this, savings isn't investing. And it's I grew up, I'm a fourth generation farmer. So the family's been on the farm for generations. And that kind of implies that, it must be relatively stable or why not carry on going? And I grew up being taught the harder you work, the more successful you'll be. And getting towards the end of my career, I'm realizing that's absolutely not the truth. It's not a matter of the harder you work, the more successful you'll be. The smarter you work, the more successful you'll be. That is the truth. And I farmed and had varying levels of success, building resources, building wealth as such, just to have a couple of droughts come along and destroy it all. And in fact, take all the generational legacy that's built up and put everything at risk. So I found myself in a position where I'm saying, listen, you can work as hard as what you damn well like. If it doesn't rain, you're in trouble. You're seriously in trouble. And then there is no legacy to pass on to your kids. There is nothing, then that'll be the end of the line. And you have absolutely no control over it. So I was very aware that I have to move, I have to find a different way of dealing with that risk. I have to diversify my income streams to not be exposed to that kind of risk, and it's severe. It's quite difficult. And being a farmer, I understand diversification very well. I mean, for 41 years, I've been diversifying my risk on the farm by growing different crops, by not only having cropping, but also having livestock component. And then afterwards, you added an ethanol production plant into it, and then, a game component to it. So diversification was not anything new to me. And when I sat and listened to a webinar that you were presenting on diversification and everything, it immediately resonated with me. And that, together with my involvement in organized agriculture and being entrusted with investments within a grain trust, I was kind of yearning for an opportunity where I can take those experiences that I'm having on behalf of the grain trust, and saying, but why can't I be using why can't I be getting that type of result for myself? And then along came Wealth Migrate and the opportunity that you present, and it said to me, it is within reach. You don't have to be a corporate investor to be able to do that. It's actually in reach of the person on the ground. It is completely doable. And then I enrolled and embarked on the mastermind process. And then something that became extremely real to me was, you cannot learn to swim out of a book. You have to get in the water. So what you facilitated, what the Wealth Migrate platform facilitated was the ability to get in the water, even from the position where I was financially. You could get in the water, and I can't stop to explain to you the feeling that I had when the first returns came back into my bank account and I could reinvest them. For the first time in my career, I was experiencing that my money was working for me and I was not working for my money. And that was fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
It's always lovely to hear that, because we read, all of us have read all of these myriads of books, Money Master the Game, or Rich Dad Poor Dad, or all of these things, and most of us have heard of the theory, but very few people actually get to experience it. Now, I'll take it one step further there, Derek. I'll never forget when my business partner, who Ian knows well, Jaco Maritz, and he said, it's one thing earning passive income, it's another thing earning passive income in another country. And when you start getting used to US dollars and pounds and euros, it's a whole nother equation that people aren't used to,
Completely.
Cynthia, talk to us in terms of, so you've had a fascinating story. So as an American that's overseas, you guys are like the untouchables, and like no financial advisors want to help you, and none of the platforms allow you to do it, etc. So again, I'm kind of where I'm wanting to go with this story is really talking about obstacles, okay? Because a lot of people have stories. I can't do it because of this, or I can't do it because of that. And I'd love people to not only understand the obstacle that you've had to this journey of diversification, but also how you've overcome it, because I think it's remarkable.
I mean, Americans abroad, I always say we're fiscal pariahs. I mean, we're the only one of two countries in the world who are taxed globally regardless of where we earn. So there's entire groups of people that are turning in their US passports, and it's a fascinating thing being an American. Everybody's flooding to your country, and then you've got all these expats that are standing in a queue outside the Rome and Florence embassies right now trying to get rid of their American passports because they don't want to be taxed on everything. And the US government raising the rate of renunciation from $250 to $2,500. You have to pay 3 years back taxes, and you have to renounce. I mean, I wasn't in this situation. I don't have another passport. My children have British and American ones, and they're working towards their Italian one, which I never thought they'd need but Brexit made them non-EU citizens. So now suddenly the UK passport doesn't mean anything. So they need a EU passport to be able to live and work in the EU. But I didn't have that option. I only have an American passport. So the renunciation wasn't a thing. So I just kept crawling back to all of these. You're not allowed to invest in funds. You're not allowed to invest in ETFs. You're not allowed to. And then the Italian government telling me the same thing. You can't invest in non-European funds. You can't invest in American. And it's just been a real journey of just joining groups like this, finding the specialists, and just going down the rabbit hole of a combination of accountants and international financial advisors who deal with high net worth overseas clients. And that's another problem. If you don't have a lot of money to invest, a lot of people won't talk to you. They're like, I'm going to give you this advice, but I can't take your money and invest because you don't have $500,000 to give me. So people were really generous with their time. And I said, if you can't take my money and invest, if you could give me your money, then we could get you on to ETFs because we're allowed to do it for you, but you can't do it by yourself. And I just went down this rabbit hole of taxes and realized I can do absolutely nothing but buy stock. And that's it. And I have to do it by myself because no financial advisor will touch me. I either don't earn enough money to play with the big players, or the government just prohibitively, I can't jump on a eToro or DeGiro or Interactive Brokers, all the things that Ann Wilson recommends. I can't jump on there and buy the ETFs. So I was like, really grateful to have the Wealth Migrate, like, okay, that's the property investing. I'll do that through there. sink a bunch of money onto the platform when deals come up. At least I don't have to deal with property. And yeah, I just I ended up doing exactly that. I ended up having to buy like the first 50 stocks in the S&P 500, the first 30 on NASDAQ by myself, figuring out how to, whether to put it all in, whether to wait 6 months and do another quarter. And, I had to do all of this on my own because the financial advisors won't touch us. And I've tried everything. I went back to America and tried to open up like a Charles Schwab account being there and they were like, no way, where's your home address? And they said, invest with an American and get a co-account. And I thought about God, should I invest with my brother and just use his name and his address on it and everything? And then I was like, no, that's just going to give him huge tax implications, as well, if my money's going through him. I really have spent about 5 years since my divorce just trying to figure out how to invest in the stock market. And it's been a bit of a nightmare. And now it's all, it's all in there, but it took a lot of just a lot of grace and kindness of people that don't usually talk to people at my level of investing, who are willing to offer their advice and tell me, answer the question, what would you do if you were in my shoes? If you didn't have half a million, what would you do?
I know you've spoken, I know Anthony, and you had quite a few chats, and, I know he also, I don't know if it was him specifically, but they helped you get into the private equity, which gave you a bit of peace of mind on the passive income. Yep. So, you've kind of taken it one step at a time, but managed to solve your problems, one at a time. And
yeah, the Calio thing was, I can say in one sentence, I had my Calio meeting and I used that 30 minutes to literally share a screen of all my assets and liabilities and tell them exactly what my problem was. And my problem was that, unlike most of us that are saving for retirement or a future, I had immediately 3 children go to university at the same time because of COVID. And I just didn't have the income to support it. And Calio just went, right, you need immediate income. We're putting you in a promissory note with, ABF, Austin Business Finance, is that their name?
Yep.
ABF. And
Yep.
That's going to give you, and that literally doubled my income. And I went through what Derek did. I got that very first interest payment and went, oh my God, I just got an interest payment that's equal to my monthly salary. That's how little I make. And just to be able to double your salary and go, now I can pay for everybody's tuition and I can pay for everybody's rent. And they were really, Calio was great about, what happens if you need this money? And I was like, I'm not worried about needing that money in the future. I'm worried about the fact that I don't have money now for my immediate needs. And they were necessities. They were kids' education. It wasn't like I was trying to buy a car or anything. So yeah, Calio was like, let's sort out that with half your money and then figure out how to get the other half invested in stocks, bonds, ETFs, whatever else.
One of the things I like about what you're saying there is what we always try and do with people, part of the mastermind, is also optimize what they've got. And when I say we, in partnership with Calio team, so it's like taking what you had, and as it was sitting fairly dormant, doing nothing, and then suddenly it was working for you and earning an income and helping with your kids and everything. And that's for me a metaphor of optimizing sometimes you got something and it's just not working as an asset, but if you put it somewhere else, it can work for you.
It was a 20, I worked in Hong Kong for 10 years, and it was an investment I started in Hong Kong 20 years ago. And when you sit through the Ann Wilson, those 4 types of investors doing it wrong, the person on roller skates, all those analogies she has, I was the person who just let it sit and just watched all the money go to the financial advisor. I just lost everything in fees. So after 20 years, I looked at this amount of money and went, well, this isn't anything. And Calio said, well, we'll take it and, put it into a promissory note, and at least you'll get some income off of it. And when they asked the question, what if you need it? What if something happens to you in the next year or 2 and you need it? My response was, I haven't paid attention to it for 20 years. I'm sure I can go another 3 years not paying attention to it.
Yeah.
So
that's brilliant. I love the resilience. And like I said, the whole purpose for me of these real people, real stories is actually for people to hear about people that have actually got resilient, not got resilience, got obstacles, because all of us have obstacles, but you have to find a way to get through the obstacles, solve their problem, And I always say to people that the biggest 3 barriers that most people have, and I've been doing this for over 20 years now, is they don't have the time, they don't have the money, or they don't have the knowledge. So, Ian, I wanted to start off with you on the money side. And if we take that I don't have the money analogy, you know, you've gone through what a lot of people, you know, are terrified of happening, where you kind of had to start again and go to new countries and whatever. And at the end of the day, you could have always had the excuse, I don't have the money, yet you've just told people the success you've had. You know what I mean? So how does one change that mindset of I don't have the money to actually, you know, I'm going to find a way to get the result, you know?
Yeah. I suppose basically, if you don't move forward, you're going to get left behind. And at that time, when I left Zim and moved to South Africa, I knew that, you know, there was no way of going back to Zim, because I saw Zim was finished. It was dead. Business, there was no business. Farming was done. You know, I was even at the stage where I had my own transport company, so I was transporting food back to Zim in containers. I was transporting fuel. Everything you can imagine to keep business going, ticking over. And it got to the stage where I was tired. I'd had enough of, you know, even queuing for fuel and queuing for food, and, you know, I just had enough of that. So I just said to my wife, her and I just said, we're done. We're going to South Africa. Start again. You know, fortunately, we had money offshore, and we did. We started over again. You know, and again, building a whole new business in South Africa, from engineering to construction to, you know, I was dabbling into every type of business, because, you know, Zim, they forced you to become an entrepreneur. And so I did. You know, everything that I did from an educational point of view, from being a pilot to a mechanical engineer, I never used any of it. So I went back, I started a business. I'd started employing the engineers and people to do the work for me. You know, I just remember the time where, what's his name, Richard Branson, you either work in your business or you work on your business. And I certainly wasn't going to work in my business. You know, I didn't want to be a slave to a system. And so, yeah, I had people doing the work, and I had the freedom to be able to travel and do the things that I wanted to do. And then 14 years later, in 2022, my wife got cancer, and 2 weeks later she was gone. You know, I think that was the point where I realized, you know, you've got your business partner, your best friend, your marriage, everything is gone. And I thought, holy shit, now what? So, and you know, all my sons were overseas, grandkids, and I said, what's the point of staying in South Africa with no family? And you know, I've got, my late wife was from Poland. So I decided, that's it. Move to the UK, or move to Scotland. And fortunately, I've got investments, you know, I've got private equity funds and investments that keep me going. And I've got various other investments that will come to maturity in the next 2 years, where, you know, I don't have to work. But the thing is, if you don't diversify, you're dead. You're dead in the water. And, you know, and again, it's the survival of the fittest out there. And yeah, and so basically that, you know, farming, I love the farming lifestyle, and I still have this vision of going back into Africa to invest. I've got my dreams are set to go to Zambia, Botswana. I want to do, you know, I want to farm there. I want to do various projects. With time, I will do that. Disadvantaged people, I want to be able to support them. You know, again, my wife was so passionate about women's wealth, and that's where WealthE Migrate, she wanted to do that. And I'm going to be doing that with you, Scott. That is something I want to do. There are women out there that we can support, we can get them on track and become, we don't want them to be reliant on the man of the house. You know, most women are reliant on men to look after them. And when the man's gone...
Be very careful. That's what, like Jan was last seen in Poland.
So I want to see women be empowered. And I was very with my wife on that. So yeah, it's definitely one of the things that we will be doing, Scott.
Yeah. No. Funny enough, Alex was talking to Judy, who's part of our mastermind, and she runs, or doesn't run, but she's part of, I don't want to get the exact right name, but it's like WPO. It's like women. It's basically like the YPO for business, but for women, and it's worldwide. And you've got to be doing $1 million turnover in your own business to be able to be invited. So it's not startup women, it's established women. And she runs, I think I stand to be corrected, the South African chapter, and is part of the global thing. So yeah, it's really exciting actually, Ian, in terms of, you know, that whole process. But yeah, I'll take that offline. But literally, Alex and I, she came on the last Wealth weekend with us, and we were, you know, talking about how can we really get that going. Because one of the things that'd be nice is to be able to launch something like that into an already existing network versus trying to do it, you know, from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Abdul, I wanted to share this quote with you before I get started. So I literally got sent this today, and it said, "The truly free individual is free only to extent of his own self-mastery, while those who will not govern themselves are condemned to find masters to govern over them." Socrates. And why I love this little thing, because it leverages in well to the next major obstacle people have, which is knowledge. Now, what's interesting is that there's two types of knowledge, and I get this all the time. There's people that don't know anything, so they kind of go, well, I don't have the knowledge, I can't invest. But they're not the dangerous ones to themselves. The dangerous ones to themselves are the ones that, oh no, I know everything. I've been doing industrial in South Africa and commercial and property, and I'm an auditor and I know business and, you know, whatever. So I know everything. I don't need to go talk to other people. And then they tend to fly overseas and, you know, go to London or go to Sydney and lose their money, quite frankly, pretty quickly. Talk to us a little bit about your kind of, you wanted to invest overseas, but you, as you said, you didn't have the friends or whatever. So it was like, well, what was the need to like get the knowledge? And that's why I love that self-mastery thing, because it was like, well, you wanted to first start by, what do I need to know? And more importantly, what don't I know, even though I know a hell of a lot in my market?
Yes, Scott, obviously life itself is a learning experience, okay? But you obviously learn from your mistakes. And what dawned on me is life also is full of risks. And I mean, everybody's been talking about all types of risks. And the one risk that I did not cover, I told you this right up front, is I haven't got wealth outside the borders of South Africa. However, just talking to the quote that you put up there, I got a simpler version of that, which was taught to me by my father. My father said to me, a person who works for another person is half a person. You have to work for yourself. Okay? And until you do that, you have no freedom, because you'll be answerable to another person. So get away from that and generate things for you that you can share with others. And that will give you far more satisfaction and freedom. So that talks to the quote that you've put on the screen there. And I'm a firm believer as far as that is concerned. And actually, it's something I teach to people as well. In other words, we all have capabilities. We may not recognize it. So we need to unearth it. We need to, discover these things. And I think freedom doesn't just talk to financial freedom. Freedom in terms of living itself. You'll be amazed how many of us find ourselves in bondage socially, in marriages, in all types of things. But we don't have the wherewithal to be able to emancipate ourselves. But one of the things that we can emancipate ourselves, and I'm again a firm believer in this, financially you can. Okay, and that is the process of investment, the process of diversification, and obviously recognizing your needs and satisfying those needs, at least on a financial level. Now, if you can't work out that number, you don't have a target. And if you don't have a target, you're going anywhere. And that means you can actually go nowhere. So it's very important to be able to identify goals, be it financial and otherwise. And I think what I've come to learn from the very short relationship with you, Scott, is that we actually delve into other things, like the enemy thing that was presented to us the other day from Karen. I mean, it's mind-boggling in terms of getting to understand your own psyche, in terms of what makes you tick. Now, that's important, because if you don't know what makes you tick, how are you going to achieve freedom? Never mind the financial one, talk about life itself. And you can only be wholesome if you're free. You don't have hang-ups, but most of us do have these things. I think a first step is you use the words. You got to get to know what you don't know. And one of those things is what's keeping you back? What's keeping you back in whatever sphere? And if you can discover that early enough, in whichever journey you are, and it's never too late, because you don't know the end of your journey until you die. So the sooner one picks up on the recognition of what's keeping you back, the sooner you can work out how to emancipate yourself. And I firmly believe that from the little journey that I've dealt or had with WealthE University, it's not that you taught me new knowledge. I knew all of those things. It's about, yes, you got the theory, now where's the practice? And that is the component that I loved about WealthE Migrate. It was the practice. I think Ian referred to it as the water. Okay? And I mean, that's the practice. So practice it, experience it, and obviously, once you've got that, a taste of that, success will breed success. And that would be my message as far as those things are concerned. And I think I'm a firm believer in you need to chase freedom. Nobody will give it to you. You've got to chase it.
Well, I mean, I always used to joke. I started my business when I was 25, and I always used to joke with people. It's because I was the world's worst employee. So, like, I think I would have, gone that route with my choice or not in terms of the process. So let's look at the next major obstacle, and Derek, it's time. So I have people say to me all the time, well, I don't have the time to invest, or even the mastermind, I don't have the time to join the mastermind. And then I kind of go, well, you want to be here in 10 years and you don't have the time to invest even 3 to 4 hours a month. I basically guarantee you won't get to where you want to be in 10 years if you can't put in that time. And you've got a fascinating story, because you kind of joined and then you were talking over online to Anthony, and then finally you were in Joburg one day, away from the farm in Joburg, and you and Anthony got to meet face to face. And I'd love you to talk a little bit about that component of time and to some extent that experience, because to my knowledge, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I remember sort of the way you explained to me, you've been looking for like a financial advisor or someone you could trust or something along those lines for decades. And then you found this, and the moment you find something like that, you can condense time. So talk to people about that story so that they can better understand it. Because again, you're a farmer, you're up early, you're looking after the fields, you haven't had time to invest.
Yeah, Scott, it's beyond just on the farm. The farm life itself is time consuming. It's your life. It's every minute of the day. But within that, it would be easy to find the time to invest. Over and above the farm, I'm involved in organized agriculture, which takes me off the farm at an average of 3 days a week. So it's I always say my diary is not my own. I'm regulated by whatever meetings I've got to chair or do, or so extremely difficult. And my wife and I actually started this journey. We decided together that, okay, we need to change something. We need to address the risks, and we need to do something. We most certainly, my favorite thing is get something done. And we started in the evenings, obviously, after supper, and a webinar. That's a great time for us to sit, and then you attend a webinar and you listen to an Ann Wilson. Ultimately, then we listen to you, and part of your process in the mastermind is then linking the person up with family office, well, that's the term that you use, as the family office, or the investment advisory service that can help you to put the structures in place to make sense of all this. And my initial experience with that, being an online interaction like we're having now, was unsatisfactory, if I could call it that. It was frustrating. Then we had a phone call or a conference call with Calio, and they made certain suggestions and everything. And it got to a point where my wife actually said to me, listen, this is just way too scary. I mean, the advice we're getting is crazy. And in a sense, I actually just pushed it aside, and I said, hang on, let me finish the mastermind, but that I'm not going to do that. Then as a result of my introduction to Calio and being in agriculture, what I didn't know is that in their company, they were also starting and building an agricultural fund, and they approached me actually to say, okay, Derek, what can you can you help us, and invited me to come and sit on that fund's board. And I drove up to Joburg to attend this meeting, and I happened to be about an hour or so early, and I just kind of found the place where it was, and I was going to drive out and go and find something to eat. And what was the girl's name? I don't remember. She said to me, no, come in, let me show you around and everything. And she showed me around the place and everything. And Anthony was sitting there. And initially, just made small talk. And then we started talking. And I started sharing actually what I need. What is it? Yeah, Courtney, you're right. So what is it? And then Anthony said to me, no, but that's exactly what we do. I was in this place where Calio's business is for the high net worth people with tons of money that don't know what to do with it and don't know how to structure it properly and everything. And actually, it's not for me. It doesn't fit my business. Only to find in that conversation that, hey, this is exactly what I need. This is exactly the kind of advice that I need. Somebody that can take what I have. You spoke earlier, Scott, about taking what you have and optimizing it. To take a look at what I have and say to him, listen, with this tweak here and that tweak there, you can optimize your income streams. You can just change your environment dramatically, and that's tremendously liberating, actually, when you suddenly find somebody that can do it. And I mentioned this as opposed to how would you call it? The the financial service providers that you can go and pay money to give you the advice, and they want to put you in a box. They want to say, this is the product that you need to use. That's what you want to use. That never resonated with me. Now suddenly I've got somebody that actually listens to me, that understands what I need to do, what my goals are, where I need to go, and gives me the advice accordingly. And I don't know if it's what you wanted me to express, Scott, but the actual personal interaction with Anthony at Calio was an absolute breakthrough. It was something that that really, almost gave me the same sort of feeling as when I got my first returns. It was empowering, actually.
Yeah. So again, I think all I was trying to point out is, if you take all three of you, three of the biggest obstacles that people have used as an excuse: I don't have the time, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the money, whatever. All three of those, in different ways, you guys have actually solved for yourself. Cynthia had this massive block, which was quite unique, of like being an expat overseas, and her children, and different needs. And again, took a bespoke solution, but it took a lot of tenacity for her to find that solution. It didn't just fall in her lap, which I think is important, you know, in terms of that process. And Cynthia, I wanted to talk to you because you made a comment. You said, thank God for the mastermind, the partners it brings us, and the exponential learning you've gifted us. Talk to us. You've been someone that, as I understand it, has always been really into learning. So you've spoken before about being on the Motley, what's the Motley Fuel, and being on Ann Wilson, and obviously, so I think one of the things out there is there are a bunch of people, me included, that love to learn all the time, in terms of that process. What's been different here for you? Because again, anyone can go on any course, but at the end of the day, we had to get results. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing the course to start off with.
I think the most different thing about Wealth Migrate is how much time we all put into this. There's not a lot of masterminds that sit here for 2-3 hours and then let's all meet in the evening and have a fireside chat. Oh, and then I missed that one, so now I got to go look at it. I got to go watch another video for 3 hours. And in the beginning, we were all like, "Oh my God, we have jobs and lives and farms to run and kids to raise." And for me, it was so time consuming. And then I just changed one word. We all know people in life who complain and whinge all the time, and they're always told when you're going off to, I have to go to work today. Change I have to I get to. Oh, I get to go on the mastermind tonight. Oh, I get to go sit on a fireside chat and talk to people that are as interested in diversifying their money as me. Oh, I get to go listen to that, that mastermind thing I missed. And just by changing that word, I have to I get to, then this financial journey with Wealth Migrate became a treat, because it became like the thing you do for yourself. Instead of, I'm going to go take a bath or buy a candle or whatever, like, no, I get to sit now and, jump on this mastermind call for 2 hours. And it was really, that solved the problem of, how do I find the time to do all of this, to really realizing that this is like the gift you give yourself, is sitting here and talking with all of us and going on this tremendous learning curve we've been on, because it hasn't just been property. It's been, each of the lectures, we've learned so much about so many different asset classes. And it was, as everyone knows when they first join, and you're like, the forms and the sheets and the back, and there's so much here. And the biggest difference between this and any other financial group I've been in is the amount of time we give to it. And I think it's I think it's commensurate with what we get out of it. I mean, what you put in, what you get out of, we put in a lot of hours into this, and as a result, our confidence has all just gone, skyrocketed.
Scott, if I may interject here just quickly around the time story, just a little example. When, as a youngster, when I joined my dad on the farm, we were busy, and my dad was asking me, why haven't you done this, or why haven't you done something, and I said, but Dad, I don't have the time for this. So he says to me, well, Derek, what do you do between what time do you go to bed? I go to bed at 9 o'clock, Dad, or whatever. So he says, what are you doing between 9 o'clock and 4 o'clock tomorrow morning? So I said, I'm sleeping. He says, well, then you've got time. So don't use it as an excuse. Make the time. That time lost is time lost. You'll never get it back. But you can change your mindset. You can change your approach. You can actually make time. If we're really all honest with ourselves, you will find the time. And I love what Cynthia says. This is something that you're doing for yourself. And once I realized that also, then you are just that much more prepared to invest the time. Never mind investing your money, invest the time, and your money will grow and your money will work for you.
I love that. Ian, back to your comment around the 2007. If it was with Koert, what it would have been about was helping people in Australia invest in apartments, basically. And I did it. I bought 16 myself, not just in Australia, but South Africa and England and America. And I helped about 2,500 people buy houses or apartments. And then in 2014, and you and I did this together, we started investing in commercial property, and we started, actually realizing, quite frankly, what the institutions and the high net worths were doing, that it was very different from houses and apartments. And I quite now, with my learning 10 years after that, I call the one mom and pop investing, which is where you kind of got high hassle and low returns, which is owning a bunch of houses, versus kind of institutional investing, where you traditionally have higher returns with low hassle. You're not running around trying to collect the rents or anything like that. Talk to us a little bit, Ian, for you in that experience, because I know you and I, well, everyone's been through it that's on the panel, but you and I have been walking that journey for the longest on this panel, and you were there right from the beginning when we started doing the commercial properties.
Yeah, Scott, you're so right. When we met Kurt, his theory and, releasing equity from property and then doing the usufruct. I don't know if you remember the usufruct. So basically borrowing against a property, and then, it doesn't matter if the property increases in value over 10 years, you only pay the capital gains tax on the value 8-10 years ago. So you were able to leverage yourself against that. But, my wife and I, we went out and started buying flats wherever we could get our hands on them, and constantly buying. But what a nightmare to, again, tenants, where you've got 5 and 6 tenants all not paying at the same time, and 4 months down the road, they're still not paying. I mean, I became almost vigilante. I was going out and welding the gates closed. I mean, I wasn't allowed to do it, but that's what I did. I physically welded the front and back gates to all the flats that didn't pay. And it's amazing how quickly, 2 nights in their car, the money was sitting in my bank account the next day. So, yeah, look, I could have been arrested for it, but I'd had enough. And those are the kind of things that I realized that commercial property was a far better way of diversifying in property, because I always believed in the multi-family homes like yourself, investing in several of these flats. And then chasing money, even to buying property in America and houses in America, and even land, buying land in America, and then having an LLC and paying tax on a piece of land that doesn't generate income for you. And the Americans are damn good at hitting you with a tax bill every year. They just drove me crazy. So, yeah, I think, I have that. There's one great saying that, cash is king, but cash flow is oxygen. And that resonates with me. If you don't have cash flow, you're dead in the water. And so, yeah, that was for me, the one thing that I found, and I've got these investments that are coming to maturity, and I'm dealing with one big one right now, which is linked to South Africa and Hong Kong. When you're dealing with bankers in South Africa, bankers in Hong Kong, you're dealing with SARS in South Africa, it just becomes a jurisdiction nightmare. And I'm dealing with that at the moment, and SARS. And then again, being married in community of property, with my wife passing away. At the time, I thought it was a great idea. Whatever was mine was my wife's as well. But yeah, that was not a good move, because they literally, as soon as my wife passed away, they grab everything. They lock everything up. It's been 2 years waiting for the Masters of the High Court to release my funds that from properties I've sold in South Africa down to the simple bank accounts they froze. And now I just saw 2 weeks ago that the Master of the High Court, they closed all the offices countrywide because of corruption internally. And so I don't know, maybe another year down the road before I'll see my money out of South Africa. But just logistical nightmares. So going back to my quote of cash is king and cash flow is oxygen. You know, if you don't have that kind of thing separate to you, wherever your abode was, like mine was South Africa, yeah, you're not going to be, you're going to be going back to work and being a slave to somebody else.
Well, Ian, Marina said, and she's based in Europe, and she said, what a journey you've been on. Your story is super inspiring. So I thought you'd like to hear that, basically. Also an American living in Europe, so knows the life of an expat, if you want to call it that. Abdul, with all of your experience, and again, coming from an accounting background and auditing and everything in between, obviously due diligence and looking at numbers and stuff, and again, with a tremendous amount of experience for you in property yourself and commercial property and all of that. When you've gone overseas, what's been your mindset around doing due diligence?
Yeah, I think due diligence, obviously, the true meaning of due diligence is to test what is being presented to you as, is this truth or is this a spin? Now, whether you do it in South Africa or overseas, is the same principle. So obviously, I don't engage in something unless it's nice. And it is the nice component that requires the due diligence. And then the other part is, you know, in auditing, for example, I'll give you a typical example. I was the auditor of a shoe manufacturer. And, you know, if you got stock at the year end, up goes your profit. And this guy, at the year end, when we had to go and audit his stock take, for example, he loaded all the shoes into his trucks and he sent them off. So here we come and we do a stock take, we don't find stock. So what happens to the profit? Profit is low. Now, to be able to discover that type of thing, okay, requires an expert knowledge, obviously, of that type of business. Now, and it's an experience I've never forgotten. And it kept with me all through that, you know, you can make a thing look pretty, or you can make a thing look, you know, ugly. And it's proven, if you look at some of these, the accounting scandals and auditing scandals across the globe, and especially in property, where, you know, you got script, I got title to this property, but I'll bond this property 10 times to fund other properties. And then here I come along and I want to buy this property, but it's the subject of collateral for something else. Now, due diligence function is to sort out those kind of things. And obviously it sounds scary. You know, I thought I bought an apple, but it's something completely different. And the purpose of a due diligence is to obviously give us assurances that what is being presented to us is in fact the truth, or is in fact close to the truth, never the truth. You can look at it whichever way you do. So therefore you have parameters of perception, meaning, and what we normally look for, especially in property, we have that as part of our approach, but we'd like to see the parameters. Outside those parameters, it must be blue sky, meaning there must be upward potential. And if you pick up that in a due diligence, then obviously you report that to your investor and say, oh, look, this is a good deal, we must do it. And what I liked, for example, the one that you guys did, that I invested in Phoenix, you know, you know, where you had that long lease, and the previous, the tenant of the building is actually the previous owner of the building. Why did he do what he did? He did what he did because he needed the cash instead of the building. Now, having said that, you need to go and perform. Is that really true? Because if it's not true, why did he sell the building? And if it is true, it doesn't give you absolute truth, but it at least gives you some comfort that the investment sounds good. And I think that in a nutshell explains what due diligence is all about. And it is a necessary function. Because if you don't perform a due diligence, I can spin anything to you and you'll buy it. And clearly, that's not how I've learned or how you presented how things get done. Hence, the Wealth Migrate uses partners in various jurisdictions and various parts of the world because they understand maybe the regulations in that arena, the way things are getting done in that arena, and they obviously in a better position to perform for us those due diligences.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that is what you wanted me to
No,
say,
no,
sir.
no, 100%, Abdullah. I think you've hit the nail right on the head. I think, the way you've described it is perfect. Everyone still must do their own due diligence. But a good example would be like tomorrow night, where we're going to be doing this presentation with Judd. And, I know that you did that home study course while going global. And one of the things in there was how to find the right partners and, what it takes to find the right partners, etc. And I've often learned that due diligence is more about the caliber of the partner than the caliber of the property, because it's actually the partner that's going to help you execute and make the money, not the property.
Perfect.
Derek, I'm going to pivot to you, but just to give Cynthia and Ian a bit of a heads up so they can think, because believe it or not, we're pretty much on time. I could stay all night. You got your pearls of wisdom are amazing. We're consistently getting lovely comments from everyone. But what I was going to ask all of you guys, and Derek, I've still got a question for you, but I'm giving the others a bit of time to think while you and I talk, is just kind of any closing comments or thoughts that you would like to share with everyone, basically, in terms of the process. You can take that any way you want. Derek, before we go to that for yourself, let's you've got the saying that I love, which is get it done. Okay, and one of the things that has frustrated me a huge amount over the years, and even Alex now has been on the team and my partner for 7 years, and he's even noticed the patterns of how often people come along to webinars and they're like, oh, I heard this 10 years ago and I didn't do anything about it. And your attitude of get it done has been very different. And to be quite frank, even compared to a bunch of the mastermind members, it blows me away. Like, we've got one lady that joined the mastermind that's never been, not once, been to a session. Like, she hasn't met me, she hasn't met Kalia, she hasn't been to a single monthly session. So she paid a mastermind fee, and I don't know if she expects me to be a fairy or something and just like make magic, but like, she's literally done nothing. And so that principle of get it done, is a very important principle, and you've often spoken about it. And why is that so important to you, and how does that help others, not only yourself but others, get results versus kind of sitting on the fence thinking, and all the excuses and reasons not to do something?
Okay, Scott, so maybe this comes from being a crop farmer. When you're a crop farmer and you're growing a crop, you put a seed in the ground at a certain, you have a certain opportunity. And literally in our farming business, in our grain, you have to have the capacity to plant your entire crop in 10 days. So that's the window of opportunity you've got, 10 days. Within 10 days, all your seed, you're making that investment in 10 days. It's a massive investment. You're putting it in the ground. And if you don't get it done, if you second guess yourself, if you ask the questions, if you want to make sure about this first of everything, the window of opportunity passes you, and your result at the end of the year is going to be substandard. It's not going to be what it could have been. So I learned that urgency of getting things done on the farm. Then my experience with the mastermind and the Wealth Migrate process was, you embarked on helping us to adjust your mindset and to understand that how to make the decisions, how to do it all. And I'm sure you'll recall that one evening I said to you, Scott, enough of all this mind stuff. Let's get it done. I need to. For me, at age 62 years old, it was critically important that I started getting my money to work for me sooner rather than later. I had to get it done. I can pick up all the mind stuff. I can pick up all the attitude stuff. I can pick that up later. But Scott, I really need to get my money working for me now. I need to get it done. And that's where that literally comes from is time, you know, and this is something that I'm trying to teach my kids right now. If I were where they are now, 30 odd, just starting and building their families, if I could be doing if they can be doing what I'm doing in the mastermind now, if they can get this done for themselves now, I mean, it's just a different world, a totally different world. You just have to get it done. If you want to learn to swim, jump in the damn water and swim. Just get it done.
Love that, Derek. So I'm going to ask the same, well, one question to all of you, but kind of final comments or thoughts that you would share with anyone. You've all been on what I'm going to call the other side of the fence, as in you've sat and watched webinars and whatever, and and again, none of you have reached the end of the journey, because there is no end of the journey. It's a journey we're all on. But any advice or guidance that you would share to those that are listening?
So Scott, what I would say is, don't think you don't have the time. Don't think you don't have the money, because believe me, where I started out at, there definitely was no money. If you had to, if you had to go and ask my bank manager or whatever to say, how much money can Derek invest? He would say, invest? What the hell are you talking about? It would have been totally impossible. You understand what I mean? So don't think that there's always a way. It's about you understanding for the first time that this is something that you do for yourself. This is something that you need to do, and then you will find the way to do it. And once you will find the way to do it. And believe you me, I promise you, the first time you taste the fruits of that effort, you'll never ever look back.
Love that. Cynthia, from your side?
I hate following Derek. He's so passionate. I guess it's the old adage, you have to pay yourself first. Yep. Right? No matter how, like Derek's saying, no matter how little money you think you have, maybe you haven't fled Zimbabwe after your $500,000 US pension became $500 Zim dollars. And like you hear Ian's story, and he went to another country and he went, I had to start all over. So the first thing I did is buy 6 properties. A lot of us can't do that. But don't get frustrated by that. It doesn't matter. That's the whole point of the Wealth Migrate platform. If you have $100, throw it in there. Just pay yourself first. And seriously, take it from me. When I left my husband with these 3 kids, I was literally like the phone bill or the buying groceries, the phone bill or buying groceries. But I've always paid myself first because I was always a saver before I was an investor. So there's always enough to just start with anything. Start with any amount of money you have. There's a lot of people writing, oh, as soon as I have money, I'm going to invest in Migrate. I'm seeing all these comments. Pay yourself first, and then go eat a can of beans for dinner, because then at least you're starting a habit, and starting that habit is so important. To be like, well, I put $100 into Wealth Migrate. Oh, and now I put 1,000 in, and someday you'll be investing 10 grand or 50 grand or 100 grand. But it's really starting that habit. I think we've all told any of us that are parents have told their kids that, like, you get that paycheck. How much of it are you going to put away? How much of it are you going to save? How much are you going to invest? And then you go do the things you want to do. So I would just say, get started. All these people going, as soon as I have money, I'm going to get in the game. No, trust me, you already have money. Just start with anything.
Scott, wealth is what you have when you don't have any money.
Yeah.
I love what you said there around habits, because that's why I always say to people, if we can get the minimum investment down to even $1, it's not going to change someone's life, but if you can change the habit, you can change their life. So we're not too far off.
We had one of those it might still be on the platform, but but I always go back to this, that breakdown of where the high net worth people put their money.
Yeah.
And okay, so you don't have $100 to get on the Wealth Migrate platform, but you can certainly go down to that cash, 2% of their wealth is in cash, and save a year's income. And then just checking that box lets you go like, woohoo, saved a month, saved a year's income. My cash is sorted. And then I didn't have the money to get onto Wealth Migrate or to invest in stocks and bonds. So I went into the alternative investments, alternative assets. And I went into art and whiskey, and I put in whatever 2%, 4% of my net worth I wanted to put in there. And then I got to go, check, that box is checked. So maybe start with the little stuff and build your way up. I mean, everybody else has to start with properties and stock when they have all this money, but maybe start at the bottom and then give Calio some money, or Judd, the guy who does, not Judd, who's the gentleman who does the cash box guy, go into your, yeah, so go into the private equity, put 5% of your net worth in the private equity, or 10% or whatever. You don't have to start with the, you don't have to start with the property and stocks and bonds and the big stuff. But just getting to the habit of like, I'm going to invest in something this week or this month, and then I'm going to check that off the box. And like, I built my whole portfolio backwards. I built it backwards. I went into stock and property last, and I went into everything else first because I had that little bit of money that I could invest in those things.
Oh, brilliant. Ian, from your side, and just by the way, the comments are coming in. I have to say, I just keep sitting here thinking, wow, like this is such sage advice from all, from all of you basically. And to be honest, I actually just sit here, what is going through my head is, how the hell do I share this with thousands, tens of thousands of people? Because, I just wish more people were getting access to this knowledge. Ian, from your side?
Scott, I think when you and I met, it was IPS at that time.
Yeah.
And, every investment, it was going to the bank, applying for a loan. How much income have you got? Expenses. And how many more properties can I buy? And, that day when Wealth Migrate came along, I went, holy shit, we've got the opportunity now to buy properties without jumping through hoops for banks, begging and pleading with banks and trying to show them something, fudging numbers to try and get into the property market. So for me, I've been with you for many years, 17 odd years, and it has been an amazing journey, ups and downs. Nothing is rosy, and there's every business has got its ups and downs. But I can tell you one thing, I'm by your side the whole way through. I've stuck with you the whole way through, and I will continue to do that. I'm so happy to be part of this community, and yeah, great things ahead.
Well, yeah, and I deeply appreciate it. And it's one of the reasons I always invite someone that's been around, and I'm going to call it the dark old days, where we had to actually fly to America and set up companies, and is because everyone else takes it for granted now. They see me go on the platform, and 30 seconds later I own a property in Germany, and 30 seconds later I invest in America, and they're like, oh, it's pretty easy. And it's only people that have actually done the fly overseas, open a company, deal with the IRS, as you said, deal with the accountant. You earn your 8% in America, and you think, wow, I'm doing so well on my rental property. And then by the time you've paid your accountant and the lawyer and the tax, and then you're at net 3%.
I mean, remember the days when Wells Fargo, we opened accounts with Wells Fargo. We had LLC accounts. I transferred money over there, and then Wells Fargo overnight closed all our accounts. And we had to go to America to go and get our money out of them.
Yeah, well, and again, we say to people, oh, we got Lemonway wallets. This is so easy, and people just don't understand, that logic. Abdul, from your perspective, you've always got sage words to share with people, so I'm fascinated by what I'm about to learn.
Okay, Scott, I think we're all human, okay, and we all have a purpose on this earth. I like to give the following formula. We are all creators. Our job is to create values. Value defined equals benefit. whatever the benefit is, not necessarily just financial. To be able to create any value requires three inputs. It's going to require time, plus energy, plus resources. If time we can understand, energy we can understand, the resources will be dictated to how you define the value. That is the theory. And a theory without a practice gives you nothing, doesn't create the value. So if you know what it is you need to do, the next step is find out how to do it. And the last part is get off your backside and do it.
Very good.
Well, on that note, I'm going to deeply thank all four of you from all different parts of the world. Really, really appreciate your time. There have been some lovely comments coming through. Elizabeth, I think, summed it up, said, I'm really inspired. Thank you. And yeah, I deeply appreciate, you basically all giving of your time, you're giving of your knowledge. It's hugely beneficial, I believe, to others, because of when they can hear and when people can hear from other people doing it, as I say, real people, real stories, then they too can get the inspiration. So to all of you who've joined us tonight, I appreciate it. We do have the webinar next week if you want to come along and be part of that series. To the four of you, massive gratitude for being here. I'm going to just pivot to let people know about the next couple of events, and if they want to take next steps in property or whatever, you're very welcome to jump off in terms of that process. But once again, I really can't thank you enough for sharing your stories and your knowledge, because it's that where I believe we can make meaningful, purposeful progress in the world, because each person can say, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. And that's how we change things. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Everyone.
Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
And goodbye, everybody, and
Bye,
good luck.
Goodbye.
Bye.
So to those of you who want to stay, I'm going to share with you quickly, just in terms of what you could do as sort of some next steps. If you, as you've heard from many of them, get it done and get off your backside, etc., etc. So there is a deal launch that we are doing. We actually invested in this. Derek invested in this, I invested in this, Abdul invested in this a year ago. And it was a unique situation where an investor, like we own the building already, nothing to do with us, it's with the partner on the ground. But there was an investor that was going to put 500,000 in. And Judd actually put the money up for this gentleman, or I don't actually know if it's a man or a woman, and they didn't come through. And so we said, well, we'll happily partake in the deal because it's a performing asset. So we're doing this launch tomorrow night. We've already been in it for a year, but if people want to come alongside us, then there's the opportunity. The Germany industrial deal, we did the launch for this a couple of weeks ago, but again, on the platform, you can go and watch the video. So if you're wanting income producing assets in Germany, you can go and meet the part of Peter Katz, who's a highly sophisticated gentleman there. And, I always say to people, if you're feeling overwhelmed, and, most people, when they've, listen to things like this, they often can, and it might feel like, drinking from a fire hose. And whether it's Jordan with his businesses and wanting to protect his wealth, or it's Victoria and, wanting to build for, both her family and a business, I like to use this analogy. If a doctor came to you and said, it's a really, really direct question. And this doctor says to you, you've got a serious medical condition and you need to lose 10 to 15 kilos as quickly as possible. Now, again, I hope this doesn't happen to any of you, but the bottom line is it's illustrative of what we're trying to achieve. And so, again, the doctor says to you, you have to lose 10 to 15 kilos, and you've got two options. The one is you can do a home study course, you can buy a course and kind of, come on a webinar or whatever, and you hopefully lose the weight. And the second is you get a coach, someone who's literally going to be there to hold your hand and to guide you through this process. Which one would give you more confidence? Which one would you believe in more to get that result? And reminding you that the doctor said it's effectively a non-negotiable. And so, if you're honest with yourself, it would be the coach, certainly from my experience. And, one of the things that I say to people, well, if that's the case, then why don't we do it with our wealth? What about if we had to build globally diversified passive income? What about if it was as much of a necessity and you had to lose 10 to 15 kilos, or it was going to impact your life? And so, you know, we say to people, for some investors, those are the super experienced, sophisticated, confident, motivated beyond belief, we've got just what the doctor ordered. You know, we always say there's two things you need, the right information and the right partners. Well, we built WealthE Global, which gives you, you know, the right information. And we've got Asset Mastery, which gives you access to the right partners. And for over 2 decades, we've been helping people do this and proving that there's a more effective option. But the problem is, having helped all of these people and having gone through a lot of coaching myself and a lot of masterminds myself, I started to say, well, how can we do this? How can we take the best of science and success in helping people get results and help people in the wealth space to be able to achieve it? And the answer came with simplicity. And it came with technology, just like Uber did for taxis, Airbnb did for motels, and Netflix did for Blockbuster, because the wealth space is broken. And when I looked at all the things that I did, coaching and masterminds and all these things to get results, and then I looked at the wealth space with my partners, and we were like, it's broken, and we need to fix it. And so the first thing we did is we went and built the home study courses, making sure you had the right information and the right partners. And then when you look at the stats out there, Harvard reckons that you'll be 400% better off with a coach. 400% better off with a coach. And yet I've been part of a mastermind since 2011. And I was like, wow, but I'm getting even better results as part of a mastermind. And I couldn't understand it until I watched this video.
No, this is extremely predictable. Tons of research around it. Humans change 5 times faster in groups than they do with a one-on-one coach, consultant, or therapist in that case.
Wow.
So I started looking back at business models and people who had done this effectively over the generations. Masterminds aren't new, folks. They're not new at all. People have been doing this for thousands of years. And when you put a collection of people together who are all committed, all driven, and all still want to make the right changes happen, and you give them a leader to follow who's willing to get in the trenches with them, all of a sudden you start finding real, rapid life or business transformation.
So I love this little video. And, you know, when you look at the written part here, he pretty much says, you'll change 5 times faster in groups than you will with a one-to-one coach. And, you know, remember, with a coach, you're 400%, so that's 4 times. Now you're 5 times. Now, I don't know about you, but it's simple math to me. It's 5 times 4. You're 20 times better off in a mastermind. But you have to find a group of like-minded people. You have to be around people like the ones you've just met on the panel. You know, and you have to find a leader who's going to jump in the trenches and pretty much do what it takes to help you get the results. And if you do that, you're going to start to find real rapid life and business transformation. And so I have a question for people. And it's a question I ask all people, even in my personal life. Do you want to stay in your comfort zone? Alex, there's a question to you, and I'm asking you publicly based on what you said to me tonight. Do you want to stay in your comfort zone? Or is it time to where the magic happens? Because the magic always happens outside of your comfort zone. And that's why we created the mastermind. Because I believe one of my gifts that I was given is to help people get out of their comfort zone. And the mastermind was a collaboration between Shane and Alex and myself and the Calio team. And we were like, right, we've been helping high net worth people invest overseas for 20 years. We used to do buyers trips, like Ian talks about, came on a trip, flew to America, and it was a group of like-minded people, and we would invest together. And it was like, well, how do we do a buyers trip, but in the digital world? And so we created the mastermind. And again, from my experience, masterminds are a far more effective way to help people get results. It's about globally diversified passive income. So the purpose of our mastermind is to build globally diversified passive income. We aim to make people at least $5,000 passive income. You know, and if people don't want that, then don't join the mastermind. You know, it's about diversifying across countries, currencies, assets, partners, and time. And there's 5 steps to it. The first step is you sit down with me and you get very clear on your one-to-one. Like in a one-to-one, you get very clear. What are your outcomes that you're wanting to achieve? What are your top 3 outcomes that you want to achieve in the next 12 months? And what are your top 3 measures? Then you meet with the Calio team, just like, you know, Cynthia spoke about. And it's all about optimizing. What do you currently have? And, you know, Derek spoke about this as well. What do you currently have? And tax and structuring and optimization of what you do. Then it's about coming up with a plan. You've got to get from A to B. You know where you want to be? You know where you are? How do you get from A to B? And then the mastermind what's important is that most people don't have a plan, but even those that do have a plan, it's all about execution. And so we run this monthly rhythm, and that's what Cynthia was referring to, and Derek was referring to, where you're running this monthly rhythm it's about accountability and mindset and execution, and then the financial side and learning and growing and, learning from the partners and getting the opportunity to invest. And as Derek said, jumping in the pool and actually swimming because at the end of the day, it's all about getting results. And so we chuck in WealthE Global, where you get access to all the home studies on the top 5 countries to invest, the top 5 currencies, the top 15 assets, how to find the right partners, and how to build your portfolio over time. We chuck in Asset Mastery, where you get access to all of the top asset classes and all of our partners. So you've got the right information and you've got the right partners. And Abdul spoke to this. This is a unique program that we're doing at the moment for our mastermind members called the Enneagram and Wealth. The Enneagram is over 5,000 years old, and it's all about the psychology of who you are as an individual. And we've married that together with wealth. It's unique. It's never been done before. And it's giving people this unique perspective on how they make investments, how they choose the right partners, and ultimately setting you up for success. There's 9 different types, and depending on your type will depend on the way you should make investments, what you should be investing in, etc. So it becomes really, really important. Our logic here at the mastermind was we had 2 choices. An exclusive elite mastermind like this would normally be 50,000. We're not charging 50,000 because our logic was we want to allow people to have meat on the bone to actually invest in deals and to get results. We're not charging 25,000, which was pretty standard at a mastermind level. We're not even charging 10,000 at the moment, although this will be changing within the next month. But for now, we're not charging 10,000. And if I said to people, if I was going to charge you 10,000, would it be worth, and just by the way, I'm not going to charge you 10,000, but if I did, and you were able to achieve your freedom goal, would it be worth it? What about if it provided you with the peace of mind for you and your family to know that they were secure? Would it be worth it then? What about if it was help you protect all of your wealth? Would it be worth it then? What about if it was to save you a decade of your time? Would it be worth it then? And what about if you could get globally diversified passive income and ultimately peace of mind? Would it be worth it then? It reminded me of the story of Michael Honeysett, where, back in 2013, he came on a buyer's trip and he couldn't afford to come on the buyer's trip, which, as it turns out, he could. He was just haggling. But when he came, he said, when I joined, it was the best money I ever spent and would never have happened if I had tried to do it myself. And I realized it's better to keep it more affordable and to get the right type of people in and to build friendships and partnerships, because over time, that's how we win. But we do have a challenge, because at the end of the day, this is not something we can scale. It's a bespoke solution. You work with me personally, you work with Calio personally. And so we constrain to only 5 people at any one time. How does someone apply? They literally go to diversificationmastermind.com. You'll have a meeting with Alex or myself, and we will literally determine whether or not, the mastermind is for you. So it's an application call, takes about 30 minutes. And what we're trying to understand is, what are you trying to achieve? We're also wanting to make sure that we can understand the risks that you perceive and from both sides of the fence, and then mainly see if you qualify to be able to go on this journey. And this isn't only about money. At the end of the day, it's the right type of people, the right type of mindset. It's very, very important for us to protect the integrity of the group, the core group. And so that's what the application call is all about. Equally, from your side, it's also for you to understand the mastermind better and see if it resonates. For me, it's all about synergy in terms of this process. We only want to work with committed people. So if you do book, please make sure that you turn up on time. And like I said, there's only 5 places that are available. There's plenty of research out there on the ROI, the return on investment of both coaching and of masterminds. You can go and look, you met a number of people tonight already on this panel, but you can go and see all of the different stuff on the different courses we've done on Trustpilot, etc. And what's interesting is that I got challenged in the last week, and up until now, we've only given a satisfaction guarantee. And we're literally about to launch. And if you set it up now, for the first 5 people, this is exactly what we're going to do. where we will literally give you a guarantee that when you join the mastermind, until you've earned $5,000 passive income, we will literally work for free with you to help you achieve that. Pretty strong statement. That's how much we believe in it. So if you want to build a globally diversified passive income of at least $5,000, then I highly recommend that you aim to be one of those first top 5, because we're literally going to make that guarantee. And I will be working with you until you achieve the results, on the assumption that you at least do what we say. Not like that lady that has never turned up. I'm good, but I'm not that good in terms of the process. So, but yeah, if you're wanting that peace of mind to know that, if you're wanting to look at a return on investment and you're kind of getting your money in the bank at a paltry kind of 7%, if you're putting $1,000 a month in, or $12,000 a year, and you were to invest $5,000 up front, over 5 years, it's gonna, you'll literally put in $5,000 to make $12,000. It's kind of a no-brainer as an investor. Over 10 years, you put in $5,000 to make $57,000, and over 30 years, you'll be close to $1 million. Hendrik said, "You're a master at your craft. It's immensely valuable for me. I'm excited about the 3 areas we identified, as well as the goals and the measurables. I consider myself highly blessed to be part of the mastermind." Angelique sent this in terms of her thoughts in terms of that process.
Hi, Scott. This is just a quick fan message. Just wanted to thank you again for our coaching call the other day. And then also wanted to thank you for the brilliant idea of that, sort of publicly putting in your goals in that Google Sheet. I see that the Google Sheet magically populated itself since the first time I saw it. And I must say the 2024 goals are very inspiring. And it's amazing to see. I find it incredibly supportive to see, people's just the amount of energy and the goals, and it's really inspiring. So just wanted to thank you for that. I really enjoyed reading everybody's goals. I haven't read all of them, but and somehow it's just really helpful. All right, well, have a fantastic day, and we'll see you in February. Bye.
A lot of people are property investors, and they want to review their different property portfolios and whether they should keep them or sell them, or residential specifically, moving away from the mom and pop mindset. So this is a gentleman called Steve, and I helped him with this process. There's consolidation. A lot of people have hassle, tax and structuring and financial advisors and stuff all over the place, and it's super complex and massive overlap. And this is with our partnership with Calio, we bring it all together, and you have the ability to kind of have it under one roof, but in a bespoke way that's literally all about you and your family. And simplifying your admin, your tax, and your other structures just changes things dramatically. So if it is of interest to you, I recommend that you go and literally go to diversificationmastermind.com and book a call. I do remind you that we're about to do this extremely unique offer for people, where we're actually going to give a guarantee to the first 5 people that qualify, because that's how strongly we feel in helping people get results. And even to the current mastermind members, that's something that for us is super important. We here to help people get results. That's what's non-negotiable to me. And as Neil said, when you get the information, it's so liberating. And you can see what lots of other people say. Thanks, very valuable, mind-blowing, very valuable, extremely enlightening. You've already heard from Cynthia tonight, where she said the mastermind, the partners it brings, the exponential learning curve they've gifted us, is exponential. And I'll remind you again that tomorrow night, we've literally got a deal that we've just launched. Well, effectively, it's launching tomorrow night on the platform. We can join Judd Dunning. It's literally an opportunity in Phoenix. It's got a 17-year lease in place. We've already owned the building for a year. It's earning a nice cash flow positive income that is paid monthly, and it's healthy around. It's a 7% cash on cash, but going up to an 8% and an IRR north of 15%. And you can literally go. I see Shane's put the link in there. You can go to the landing page and read all about it in terms of that process. And if you want us to hold your hand, just like Abdul and the others have spoken about, then join us at the diversificationmastermind.com. Why do we believe you should work with us? Well, we spoke a lot tonight about the biggest myths. I don't have the time, I don't have the money, or I don't have the knowledge. We literally built the mastermind to help people specifically that are very busy lives and have limited time to help them get their results. To help people that have a lot of knowledge, but need knowledge as to how to do it globally. And ultimately might not have enough money to do it all themselves, but by doing it collectively, they can get access to far better deals with a lot less risk and far better returns. And finally, why we think you should work with us, it's about global diversification. We're the only ones, to my knowledge, that can help you globally diversify in different assets, different countries, different currencies, different partners, and across time. I've invested a fortune in masterminds over the years. You know, Singularity University was $14,000, Roger Hamilton, $25,000, Maverick, $40,000, Tony Robbins, $50,000. And I fundamentally believe that masterminds move the needle, which is why I put my money where my mouth is in terms of helping people get results. And so if you want results, why not join over 4,000 other investors, whether it's wealth protection, plan B, peace of mind, diversification, freedom, global citizen, empowering your children, immigration, or living a life unlimited. Just go to diversificationmastermind.com. Our focus is globally diversified passive income, and you literally diversify across countries, currencies, assets, partners, and time. And a couple of bonuses, you'll get priority access to me and the team, access to our vetted tax and currency partners through Calio, Asset Class Mastery, Wealth Going Global, the Clem Santa Masterclass, 12 months Wealth Hacker subscription, access to the best immigration agents and partners, access to our Wealth Weekend. So our next one's at the end of August. We literally are looking to finalize the numbers. So if you join now, you'll be included in that. It's going to be an incredible weekend of 4 days with all the mastermind members together, which is going to be really, really amazing. When we start buyers trips again, access to that, and then also Enneagram and Wealth. And my final comment to you is that I know that I've had this for a long time. I know Alex has this, where people are like, oh, this sounds exactly what I need. I've been looking for this for years or even decades. And then they go talk to their friends or their family or their financial advisor or their husband or their wife. They're like, yeah, it sounds too good to be true and whatever. And, there's a little bit of tough love. Take a screenshot of this. But the bottom line is, my strong belief is trust your intuition. Do what, do what's right for you. I'm not saying we are right, what's right for you, but do something different. Take massive action, and it's going to be imperfect action. So take massive imperfect action. This is your life. Nobody's coming to save you. You've got this. So make decisions for yourself and get going. And as James Painter said, more information equals better results. It's rubbish. Rubbish in equals rubbish out. Multiple options creates confusion. Information doesn't change the fact. And, trends don't even help. You've got to have people that can hold your hand and help you get results. And so if that's what applies to you or appeals to you, go to diversificationmastermind.com. And like I said to you, something we've never done before, we're literally launching it as we speak. And for the first 5 people, we will actually give you a guarantee where, until you make the passive income, we will work with you for free until you achieve that objective, as long as you follow the steps along the way in terms of the process. If you're not sure what to do, then you can literally go to our navigator in terms of our next steps, and it will help you. It's got some great questions. I remind you of our next challenge, which is coming up at the end of June. And then next week, we've got the masterclass on legacy and family relationships with money. So, if you're interested in generational wealth, if you're interested in legacy and family relationships and money, then join us next week. In conclusion, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It's an African proverb. I think you've learned from the wonderful guests who shared with us tonight, the real people, real stories, that, at the end of the day, all of them shared some amazing insights into how to get the results that you want in your life. And all of them were talking about how to do it through partnership. Not one of them is doing it on their own. And so, hopefully that gives you some guidance in terms of where we're at. I want to thank you for your time tonight, to Shane and Alex and the team, as always, for behind the scenes helping put everything together. To our speakers, it's been some sage advice shared with you, over 2 hours of knowledge. To the rest of you who are still here, wonderful to have you. If you've got any questions or anything that we can help with, please let us know. Please share it with your friends. You know, at the end of the day, each week we're getting these incredible group of people to share with you, and I'd love more people to know about it and to take advantage. And finally, if the mastermind resonates for you, then I highly recommend that you click on the link in terms of the process. Shane can put it back up for you. Come along, have an application call. We'll see if you qualify, and you might be one of the first 5 to get that guarantee, because that's how confident we are that we're going to help you get the results in terms of that process. And if you literally want to jump in the pool, just like Derek said, we've got a deal launch tomorrow night. You can invest. We already own the building. It's already earning income, and you know, you can be earning passive income in under literally 60 days. So you can literally go from all of this knowledge tonight and theory to taking action and getting results in under 60 days. And if that's something that appeals to you, then you know, we've given you the path on how to achieve that. I don't know what was just talking to me there. Anyway, that's all for me. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and we will see you online, hopefully at the launch tomorrow night. Cheers, everyone.